his speed. Is it going to come out of the backfield?
It took Arizona to find their form a little bit. They really struggled 1-3 the first 4 weeks, but finished 10-2. The ball's out. Vegas has got it. And it's Darius Williams for the Nighthawks.
Darius Williams with the recovery, but Maurice Jackson forcing the ball out on the fumble, and a timely turnover for the Nighthawks.
As we step aside, Vegas the first takeaway, the hit from behind, and the recovery by Williams. Nighthawks by 1 as we step aside. It is all smiles for the Nighthawk fans tonight. There's also a good amount of Arizona Rattler fans in the building, but Vegas with the early edge. 7-6 lead and just recovered a fumble in the red zone as Jerome Johnson drops back, takes a deep shot, and has his man. Quentin Randolph crosses the 2,000-yard career IFL mark with that catch as Vegas is in business.
Feels a bit like deja vu. That's the third time that Johnson has found Quentin Randolph over on the left side of the field, and I like the aggressiveness right after a turnover. Take it right to this defense and continue to put pressure on him. Johnson to Randolph, something we've talked about so much this season, and again, it yields success.
Not afraid to go after former IFL Defensive Player of the Year Dylan Winfrey either in that secondary. As it's Antonio Winbush, big hole. Winbush inside the 5, just tripped up in his long-awaited return, just activated off short-term IR, where he'd been since June 10th, has not played since week 9, but a big ad for a veteran playing in his 31st IFL game.
It's been a bit of a rotating cast of characters at the running back position. Good to see Winbush back into the fold. Johnson has certainly taken the mantle of the top rusher on the team in a lot of the guys' absences and trying to fight for those extra few yards to get into the end zone, but slips up. Nonetheless, first and goal opportunity here for the Nighthawks, knocking on the door.
It's also the third straight game with Kevin Toot, Anthony Wiggin, and Moses Mallory on the offensive line. Those three have been really solid so far for head coach Mike Davis. Johnson on the read option. Winbush still powering and is just short as the quarter comes to an end. A second and goal at about the half-yard line when we return. But what an electrifying start to this game. First postseason game in Vegas franchise history. Each team exchanged touchdowns, and Vegas gets the turnover in the red zone. That's how things stand as we're done with the quarter. Quarter number 2 after this, it's Vegas 7, Arizona 6. Start of the second quarter from Lee's Family Forum in Henderson, Nevada. This is the first ever playoff game hosted by any of the member teams that occupy this arena. Very special night in the Las Vegas area. And it's the Nighthawks 7, Arizona Rattlers 6, kicking off the Western Conference semifinals in the 2-3 matchup in Vegas right away here. Justin, knocking on the door as we start the quarter, 2nd and goal at the 1.
Fans are certainly excited. They came out in droves here, and let's see if the Nighthawks can punch it in.
It's a direct snap to Antonio Wimbush. What a hit coming from Connor Taylor as they go Wildcat. Brought in Lorenzo Hernandez as a blocking backer there, but a beautiful read by Taylor, the second-year Rattler who makes the stop for a loss.
Perhaps showing their hand a bit too much on that play call there as you bring in Hernandez as an extra blocker. Excellent stop by the Rattlers to just force another play, and now a key 3rd down coming up. You'd have to figure it's 4-down territory if we get there for head coach Mike Davis, given how aggressive he's been this year. But let's see if we need 4th down and if the Nighthawks can punch it in here.
The best red zone offense in the IFL, hitting it at 90% clip. Johnson keeps up the middle and can't get there. Hit from the side by Devontae Merriweather and Roderick Perry. And there's Merriweather, whose first year with the Rattlers was that 2017 IFL title year and a former Defensive Player of the Year back in 2019. And with the ball at the yard-and-a-half line, no hesitation. Just as you thought, Justin, Mike Davis will keep the offense on the field.
Bit tougher to run down here because if you're inside the 5, that linebacker can then come up inside the belt, that imaginary 5-yard distance between the line of scrimmage and the defensive backfield. So you get an extra guy in there if you're the defense to clog things up a little bit, and you're seeing that cause a bit of fits for this Nighthawks offense. 2 yards to go, and they've got one of the best quarterbacks in all of IFL football to get there.
Johnson up the middle, touchdown! His 38th of the year, and the 4th down decision pays off.
The full complement of weapons for Jerome Johnson already on display here. The long touchdown earlier through the air, this time on a key 4th down in the red zone, getting it done on the ground. And I'd have to say there's no other person you'd want with the ball in their hands at this point. Give the ball to your quarterback, your best player, and see what he can do. And he provides you with a touchdown here as the Nighthawks get a couple to respond to that opener from Arizona.
Great look at Kevin Macias on for the PAT. Just sneaks it inside the right upright. 14-6 Vegas with 12:42 to go until halftime. Nighthawks the best red zone team and best 4th down team in the league this year, and they pay it off on a 4th and goal. Jerome Johnson into the end zone as the Nighthawks lead by 8.
Welcome back. The Vegas Nighthawks up 14-6 over the Arizona Rattlers. Now, the scoring all started for Vegas with that insane catch by C.J. Wyndham up and over the wall. Unfortunately, an injury was sustained when making that catch when his side hit the wall. He's currently being evaluated by the trainer in the back in the locker room. But before he even headed to the locker room, there was clear frustration on his face. This game means so much to him. He was very emotional, guys.
Thanks, Mariah. In the meantime, Arizona doing it on special teams. What an answer as Glenn Gibbons Jr., who won an IFL title in this building, takes it to the house, and the Rattlers strike back.
Just the kind of spark that the Rattlers needed. Gave up the turnover, gave up the touchdown after it, needing something to get back, and your special teams propping up your offense there. Glenn Gibbons showing off the speed, coast to coast, no problem. And a touchdown on special teams for the Rattlers to get them right back in it.
A 45-yard return as Evitz continues to struggle. Another missed PAT wide left, and that's the big differentiating part so far as you get a good look at Glenn Gibbons Jr. out of Division II Lindenwood University in the St. Louis area. His first kick return touchdown this year, but averages over 20 yards to return, Justin. He's showed that athleticism all season on those returns.
Both these teams have guys that they consider dangerous there returning kicks. Of course, Jericho Flowers on the other side for the Nighthawks, but you give a guy like Gibbons that much room. The blocking went to perfection there on that return for Arizona. You give him that much room to work, and he's going to find the open spot and get into the end zone.
Only Quentin Randolph had more catches, I should say more receiving yards and more touchdowns in 2022 with Northern Arizona. Glenn Gibbons led the team in catches that year as Gibbons and Randolph led Northern Arizona from a one-win team in their inaugural season to winning it all in 2022. 14-12 Vegas, the lead right now. And that's really been the theme of the IFL these last few years. You had Northern Arizona do that. Then in 2023, it was Bay Area who went from one win to an IFL title. Vegas trying to be the latest to do that. Not as bad as one win, but only 11 wins combined their first two seasons now in the playoffs. We'll see what happens with a potential return, though, for C.J. Wyndham, because that is unquestionably a massive loss. Team's leading touchdown man on the receiving side.
Certainly, we talked about him filling such a void for this offense, and be next man up for Vegas if he's out.
It's Jericho Flowers. Couple return touchdowns this year and a solid run back out to the 19. Hey, the legendary Keith Sweat and special guests take the stage at Lee's Family Forum Saturday, August 31st. The Sweat Hotel Tour promises an unforgettable night of timeless R&B hits, soulful melodies, and an electrifying atmosphere as three iconic acts take the stage. Tickets are on sale now. Visit leesfamilyforum.com. And with C.J. Wyndham taking the hard contact up and over the board, making the touchdown catch on the first drive. Now you have a couple of new Nighthawks who are into the fold. Marquise Lawson was just signed July 4th, making his third start, while Reggie Henderson also signed July 4th. He's into the game right now as the fourth active wide receiver, just activated off short-term IR this week. Jerome Johnson on the drop back. Oh, big hit! Connor Taylor did not bite on the pump fake. And that had a massive implication and consequence for Johnson, who takes the loss.
We said Connor Taylor's the last man standing at the linebacker position for Arizona. He knows he has to be effective in this game, and making his impact there with a huge sack of Jerome Johnson. And again, you see Jerome looking down the field to one of his newer targets in Henderson, and just unable to have the confidence to let it fly there. Tucks it in, takes the sack, and the Nighthawks push back here with a 2nd and 22.
12-yard loss for Jerome Johnson. That's exactly the sort of thing we were wondering when you lose C.J. Wyndham. Only one opening day wide receiver now on the field. Johnson tucks and runs. There's Taylor again. Wow, how good has Connor Taylor been these last two plays? Another big hit.
He is juiced up right now for this defense. Been all over. And on that play, it was the initial block by Antonio Wimbush out of the backfield. Kept the pocket clean, but Jerome didn't see anything downfield. Tried to dart out and escape, and that allowed some of the defenders to get off of their blocks and go pursue the quarterback. 2 plays already after the return touchdown for Arizona. You can feel some of that momentum building for this Rattlers team.
This is a third-year IFL player, though, in Connor Taylor. 6 career sacks in his 21st game. Started with the Tucson Sugar Skulls a couple years ago. Head coach Kevin Guy of Arizona, him and his wife Kathy, they're the co-owners of that Tucson team. So there's a lot of crossover between those two franchises. third and forever. Johnson with all day to throw, finds his man, and Henderson picks up the first down.
Can't have that if you're the Arizona defense there. I know you're trying to protect against the deep ball. You know Jerome Johnson wants to go deep, but you still have to play to the sticks. And they leave a man open. Henderson in the middle of the field. He's able to run after the catch. Good recognition of where that first down marker was. And he picks it up on a key third down. How different could this drive have looked if they didn't pick that up? But things continue to move along for this Nighthawks offense.
Now Reggie Henderson, the rookie out of UT Chattanooga, started his college career with teammates with C.J. Wyndham at Middle Tennessee, but they played against each other. Henderson was a safety on that roster. On the pitch, Wyndham, nice cutback and a strong tackle. James Yamwaya with a tackle for a short gain as we send it back down to the field, and Mariah Janos.
Yeah, you guys, Reggie Henderson, one of the many new faces to this roster down the stretch here, and I had caught up with him asking him, what does he bring to this team? And he just said, straight and simple, it's effort. He brings effort. He'll do anything the coaches tell him to do, whether he's playing or not. He just wants to see this team win.
No question, Mariah, it's been a big ongoing storyline for the Nighthawks and so many teams around the IFL when you deal with those midseason injuries that are very common in the league. Henderson coming in now as that fourth wide receiver today. While that was happening, Arizona head coach Kevin Guy and the rest of the Rattler bench given a sideline warning, which is, even on a warning, a 5-yard penalty. Makes this a 2nd and short. And it is already getting chippy between the two Western Conference rivals. Wimbush can't turn the corner. The former Merrimack College standout in Massachusetts, Yamwaya with another solid stop. And there are a lot of Rattler fans in the house tonight. Head coach Mike Davis, his big message has just been not assign any added value to this game. Let's just focus on us with how strong of a team on the other side Arizona is.
That being said, Mike Davis and Herdishin certainly playing to the crowd after that sideline infraction, waving their hands up in the air to get this home crowd on their feet. You don't see that too much on offense sometimes, but they want all these fans to be into this game.
One of the best fan bases in the league, the Arizona Rattlers. They've had a whole bunch of fans make the trip from Phoenix as it's 2nd and short pitch. Randolph on the spin. Looks to have just enough. That was 3rd and 2. As the chain gang did update the down and distance late, and Randolph appeared to have just enough, and he does. 1st and goal, Nighthawks.
Far side official confirming a first down there. Quentin wanted a little more than just the first down, but was able to evade that first tackle and spin around to, at the very least, continue the drive. And for the Nighthawks right now, integrating some of those new pieces, but still going back to the well and Quentin Randolph as much as they can.
On the play fake, a sellout against the run, and it pays off for Arizona. How about that play by Kevin Symes, who was activated off IR mid-April.
Right now, this Arizona defense doing everything they can to make Jerome Johnson a one-dimensional quarterback. They do not want him running all over the field on this defense like we saw last time that the Rattlers came into this building. It was a long 45-yard touchdown that essentially iced the game for the Nighthawks from Jerome Johnson. They want to make him utilize his weapons through the air, especially now with another one down in C.J. Wyndham.
Johnson 5 attempts, I should say, 0 yards so far. Clearly a big emphasis, to your point, on head coach Kevin Guy's front. But Johnson has all sorts of running room. Down the sideline and in. A touchdown for Vegas.
Well, you can throw as much as you want at him, but sometimes when you have the right play call and you have the right player in Jerome Johnson in the game, they're going to get theirs eventually. And right on cue, just as we're talking about the struggles, Jerome Johnson finds a way to make an impact on the ground, coasts into the end zone off some nice blocking from his teammates, and gives the Nighthawks exactly what they needed on this drive. Remember, it was 3rd and 23 deep in their own territory, and they've turned it into a touchdown.
As Macias is on for the PAT, right down the middle. The big play, the 25-yard pickup on 3rd and 23 from Johnson to Reggie Henderson. And it's Johnson who does it himself. 2nd rushing touchdown of the night. And it's Vegas who extend the lead. Nighthawks 21, Rattlers 12 at the 5.5 mark of the first half as we step aside. Vegas up 21-12 on Arizona as we welcome you back with a reminder you can try your luck at every Nighthawks home game. Scan that QR code right there on your screen and take part in the 52-48 raffle. Enter each home game's drawing with a chance to win 52% of the total pot while also contributing to benefit the VKH Foundation and its charitable efforts. Scan the code now. You must be present in Nevada to play. Postseason week well underway. The two Eastern Conference semifinals have wrapped up. Nighthawks and Rattlers in the first of the two Western Conference semis. Is watch out. Nice snag down there on a hot shot off the foot of Kevin Macias. That is the IFL Hall of Famer, Xavier Jackson, the all-time IFL sack leader, who just snagged that off the top of the wall. Well, Nighthawks in Arizona have played some really good games in their short series history. This was the last meeting. James Caesar made one of the defensive plays of the year. This was in a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and on the next play, Jerome Johnson made the Rattlers pay.
A timely turnover leading to a touchdown on the other end of things. That's been the key really for the Nighthawks in both of the meetings against Arizona, getting some of those timely turnovers late in games and translating them into points the other way around. Remember last time Dalton Sneed was in here, 2 picks for him against this Nighthawks defense.
And the Nighthawks just turned Sneed over. It was a forced fumble by Maurice Jackson, recovered by Darius Williams. It's Shannon Brooks on the ground. Not much doing with the tackle led by Lorenzo Hernandez, a former double-digit tackle for loss man with Massachusetts last year. And in that season series sweep, Nighthawks had some huge statistical numbers. Jerome Johnson, he only averaged 7 touchdowns a game. Not too bad. C.J. Wyndham went off. 4 combined touchdowns in those 2 games. And then Maurice Jackson, in one half of football, had 3.5 tackle for loss, 2.5 sacks before getting injured. Already has a forced fumble tonight.
You can see why Nighthawks so excited defensively to get him back out onto the field. And, of course, we hope C.J. can find his way out soon, too.
2nd and 9. Nice throw to the boundary where Jamal Miles brings it in with Hernandez right in the face of Dalton Sneed. A strong throw from the Scottsdale native, and it's 1st and goal.
Again, a little adversity for Arizona so far in this first half, but this is a veteran team with a quarterback who has an IFL championship under his belt in this building, so he certainly knows how to face adversity and come out on the other side successfully. And that's not getting in his face and not getting in their minds right now. Some of the issues they've had in this first half, they are continuing to chug along, and an excellent throw by the veteran there, as you said, on the boundary in a tight window.
Sneed the quick throw. There's Miles in space. Brought down by Williams. A strong tackle after a 4-yard pickup down inside the 2-yard line. And Miles, the guy you'd figure, Justin, right, would get some more run here for Arizona. With all of his history, having been with the team since 2017 and all the success that's come along with it.
You want to go to that experience in a time like this in the postseason. They already did it once with the rushing touchdown in the first quarter. They're back in a similar spot. We'll see if they go to him again.
81 combined touchdowns over the last 5 years with Arizona for Jamal Miles. Read option. It's read well by the Nighthawk defense. Nowhere for Sneed to go as James Caesar comes up from the secondary and is fired up.
On the previous down, it was Malik Hausman with a nice tackle out on the boundary, and this time James Caesar not fooled by that one. Instantly able to read that read option, getting right up to Dalton Sneed and making sure he doesn't gain any yards here. In fact, pushing the quarterback back a little bit to the 4-yard line on 3rd and goal.
Where Arizona has struggled this year has been in the red zone. That last turnover, their 7th giveaway in the red zone, 2nd most in the IFL. And face a 3rd and goal here from the 4. Sneed, end zone, touchdown. Jackson brings it in as Arizona strikes back.
We talked about Corey Reed's performance last time against the Nighthawks, but Najir Jackson, he had himself quite a day as well. The last time that he stepped into this building, 67 yards and a touchdown. He finally gets some run here, and a nice throw and nice patience by Dalton Sneed to let him break out of that route. And Jackson finding the open spot in the defense for a touchdown to keep the Rattlers right in this game. It's been a bit of back and forth, but this Rattlers offense certainly up to the task of sticking with it here, and looks like they're going to go for a 2-point conversion as well.
After Dawson Evans missed his first 2 PATs wide to the left, Kevin Guy keeps the offense on the field in a 3-point game. Jackson's 8th receiving touchdown in 11 games, signed midseason to be reunited with Dalton Sneed. Those two won a title in this building last year with Bay Area. Going for 2. Sneed into the flat, wide open. A beautiful play design as Shannon Brooks gets alone, and Arizona pulls to within one just ahead of the 1 minute warning.
Some sort of miscommunication there. Mike Davis immediately going over to Malik Hausman, motioning over for his defender to get to the other side of the field, and you have to think that that was the intended responsibility there to guard Shannon Brooks out of the backfield. But what a throw by Dalton Sneed. He saw the pressure coming the entire way, took the hit, made the throw, and got the conversion.
As head coach Kevin Guy looks on, talking with his special teams coach and GM Jeff Jarnigan. Now, while we have a second, a reminder that with the postseason underway, you know each of these teams hope to be back on this same field August 17th, when for the third straight year, Lee's Family Forum will host the IFL National Championship game. Join us in Las Vegas when the IFL crowns the last team standing in the indoor war. Tickets are on sale now. Visit IFLNationalChampionship.com. Last two champions coming from the Western Conference. Kevin Guy, his Rattlers, it's been a drought for all the accomplishments. They've not won since their inaugural year in the IFL, 2017. A lot of close calls for Kevin Guy. I think the craziest stat about all of the pedigree and history for the Rattlers is that this is their first opening round playoff game on the road since 2010.
It's incredibly impressive, and even though you mentioned a bit of a drought there, they're just consistently in it. They're putting themselves in positions to win championships and to win conference titles. They are always in the mix somehow, some way, and even though they're on the road here in a bit of unfamiliar territory, they're right where they want to be in the postseason, chasing another IFL title.
And last year was actually the first season since the move to the IFL in 2017 that Arizona did not at least advance to the conference finals. Were stunned at home last year in the first round by Northern Arizona, but have battled their way back, and an onside kick attempt is fielded beautifully by the strong hands of Reggie Henderson right up against the wall. And you have to be looking alive on those because Dawson Evitz hit that one perfectly right at the waist of Henderson.
That's an impressive grab by Henderson there because, as you mentioned, that one was coming with some velocity, trying to catch Henderson off guard. And for a guy that we talked about taking an elevated role offensively, it can be easy to maybe take your mind off of special teams a bit, but he was just as focused, locked in on that one, and an excellent snag to give the Nighthawks considerably better field position than they were looking to have on a normal kickoff.
You might be saying, why would Arizona gamble there? That was actually really smart because you don't want to kick deep. You don't want to allow Vegas to potentially run out the entirety of the clock, since Vegas will get the ball first to start the second half. Smart decision there by Kevin Guy, even though they don't recover the onside. As Johnson gets flushed out, has to burrow into the turf after a short pickup, and that will take us to the 1 minute warning. Each team with their full complement of timeouts as we take our final break at the first half. Nighthawks 21, Rattlers 20. This has lived up to the billing. Nighthawks into the red zone when we return. A minute to go until halftime. 21-20 Vegas into our final minute of the first half. Kicking off the Western Conference semifinals tonight. Vegas, the 2 seed, hosting 3rd seeded Arizona. Winner to meet the winner of Bay Area and San Diego tomorrow. A couple of great games already. It has really fit the bill of this IFL season so far. Green Bay and Massachusetts each advancing by a single score. It's Jerome Johnson sliding inside the 5, who avoids the big hit from Devontae Merriweather, and we get a timeout taken by Arizona to stop the clock. First of the 3 timeouts used. 53 seconds to go until halftime, and this is where the cat and mouse game of the IFL is so fascinating to watch.
Certainly, and you don't have to go back far for the Nighthawks to recognize that cat and mouse game, because Tucson put a touchdown on them late. They got a Hail Mary in the final seconds of the first half. Time is so valuable here at the end of halves, and the Nighthawks doing everything they can to make sure that there is as little time as possible. Of course, if they end up scoring a touchdown to then get that point on the board.
Positive news there as you see C.J. Wyndham on the sideline. For more on C.J., let's go back down to Mariah.
Yeah, you guys, as you see, he is back on the bench. He was limping, walking a little gingerly toward the bench. No helmet with him, so it's definitely positive that he will not be returning in this final 53 seconds of the first half. But he is feeling optimistic, and we'll see if he can make his way back into this game in the second, as he is a huge weapon for this offense.
No question, Mariah, guy who's caught 5 touchdown passes in 2.5 games this year against Arizona. It's a 3rd and short for the Nighthawks. Johnson gives, Wimbush dives, looks to have just enough for the first down, as that momentarily stops the clock. 46 seconds to go in the half, and now as it runs, a frustrated Kevin Guy will begrudgingly use his second timeout.
Such a tough thing to do when you get down to the red zone here, especially when that line to gain is so close to the goal line, to try to find that fine margin of getting the first down for time purposes, but not yet scoring because you don't want to give it back. So executed perfectly by Antonio Wimbush there, and curious to see how Curtis Shin and this offense decides to go about this next few plays and this upcoming sequence here for time purposes.
Just 39 seconds left. Arizona down to 1 timeout, but it's that classic gray area of how conservative do you get. You still want to make sure you're able to score here. 1st and goal at the 1, but you would kind of assume that Vegas would elect to try to get this ball to about the half-yard line and not score, force Arizona to use their final timeout as a result. They do bring the big blocking back in from the defensive line, Lorenzo Hernandez. And some miscommunication here. Nighthawks making sure they're all lined up and set. You always see in the IFL those 2 and forward motion at the snap. And it is Johnson, exactly what we thought. He does not go into the end zone, actually loses about a half yard. And so far, no final timeout taken by Kevin Guy in Arizona. And that's where the cat and mouse game comes in here, because you are down to 30 seconds, so you can't be too laissez-faire here, but Curtis Shin, with his team having the full complement of timeouts, defense looking on, clearly comfortable in this situation.
And it might look odd as the Nighthawks do end up blinking first and taking that time out there. It might look odd saying, okay, why are they intentionally not trying to score? But when you leave too much time on the board, yeah, you get your touchdown, but oftentimes you're going to break even because the other team can go right back down and match you. And for the Nighthawks, especially knowing that they're going to get the ball out of the second half, you want to double dip and you want to do everything you can to make sure there is no opportunity for Arizona in this half.
Vegas really hit the jackpot, too, with how this sequence is played out. You get the first down without scoring a touchdown. That was the best case scenario for Vegas from a pure time and timeout standpoint. Now that we're down to 18 seconds left, Vegas still has 2 timeouts, 2nd and goal just inside the 2 for the 2023 IFL Coach of the Year in Tucson, Curtis Shin. He certainly knows Kevin Guy well. Kevin, who has his wife, Kathy, they're co-owners of the Sugar Skulls. Johnson to the outside, flag down as Johnson hits the wall just before crossing the plane of the goal line. And a massive call coming from head ref Reed Brotherton in the area of a potential hold.
Holding, offense number 55, 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
And that now completely changes the calculus. That's the fine line, Justin. That's all it takes. Now you get a holding penalty, and Vegas is in a tough spot.
Anthony Wiggin, the left guard there, pulling around number 55. You see the hold there on the edge, just trying to prevent the defender from getting to Jerome Johnson. Jerome would have been short anyway, perhaps too his intent to not get into the end zone quite yet, but now the Nighthawks outside of the 10-yard line. You still do have your full playbook available. You have 2 timeouts. You have 14 seconds, so it's up to you what you want to call at this point, but it gets a lot tougher now this far back, and then if you don't get it, you start making that decision of field goal versus touchdown and how aggressive you want to be.
2nd and goal at the 12. Johnson, nothing open. Buys time. Johnson, the pump, and gets into the wall. That stops the clock with 7 seconds left down to the 7-yard line. Really good job in coverage by Arizona, and that took a lot of time off the clock to the point where, while you still have time to run a play, you have to be quick about it here.
You can see Herdeshin motioning for his quarterback to take off. There was nothing down the field. He was almost urging him to run the football as nothing came open down the field. So the Nighthawks do pick up some yards, but to your point, 7 seconds remaining in this first half now, so time is very much of the essence. You see Shin pointing for his quarterback to get to the sideline, pick up whatever he can, and you have to say solid blocking by the offensive line to allow him that much time to survey the field, but a good job by Arizona of bending and not breaking at the moment.
And now the full playbook's certainly not completely there, Justin, because you can't risk having a long developing play run timeout for you. 7 seconds to go. Curtis Shin has been brilliant at scheming plays in these sorts of situations all year as a former coach of the year and assistant of the year in the IFL.
And if you do want to run one of those plays that maybe is a bit longer developing, you have to make sure your quarterback knows that if it's not there early, you have to do something to stop the clock. Incomplete pass, get to the sideline. We'll see where they go here.
21-20 Nighthawks, 7 seconds to go until halftime with a 3rd and goal at the 7. Blitz comes. Johnson back in the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Flag on the play, but it's Quentin Randolph who's all smiles for now.
There was contact between Randolph and the nearest defender.
That penalty's declined. Result of the play. Touchdown.
And it will go against Arizona. So the Rattlers were thinking they might have been able to pull that one back, but Quentin Randolph fighting through the contact, getting open in the back of the end zone. As you see Jerome Johnson just lobbing it up for his favorite target. You see the grab on the 4 there on the back of Randolph's jersey, and he makes it happen for a late score for Vegas.
Slam dunk for Randolph. That is back-to-back games where Quentin Randolph has scored a crucial touchdown right before the end of the half. With a bobble on the snap. A really nice job, though, to recollect by Jorge Reyna, the backup quarterback. Gets it down for Kevin Macias, and with 4 seconds to go in the half, Vegas takes a 28-20 lead. It was a Hail Mary last week. This week, on 3rd and goal, the Nighthawks get the big play.
Not as much flair for the dramatic this week for Quentin Randolph, but he gets the same result, gets the touchdown, and with just 4 seconds to go, although it was a bit of a roller coaster on that sequence there for the Nighthawks, they do end up at the destination that they were hoping to. 4 seconds to go. They have the touchdown on the board, and now they're ideally one kickoff away from sending this thing to halftime.
You surprised a little bit that Arizona would blitz in that situation where you're basically forcing yourself into man coverage when by dropping everybody back, we saw how beneficial that was the previous 2 plays. Thought it was an interesting decision, to say the least, from Arizona.
Not even just on the scheming aspect of it, too, but we saw how long that previous play took for Jerome Johnson. You figure if you get in his head a little bit, you take away some of those weapons down the field, that you can get him to take some time on that play and maybe force their hand into a field goal. So I think a great point by you there that interesting they went away from that type of defense. Of course, they wanted to be a bit more aggressive and see if they could perhaps force Jerome into a mistake, but didn't work out on that occasion for Arizona.
Both quarterbacks have been tremendous throughout the first half, with the exception of Dalton Snead's fumble in the red zone. It has been a QB clinic. The 2 quarterbacks, they combined 12 of 13 passing. 3 touchdowns, no picks so far. And now the big question is, how do you approach this if you're Kevin Macias? 4 seconds still left. Glenn Gibbons just returned one to the house. Last time Vegas kicked deep. And it will be a short little pooch kick angled toward the board, picked up by Gibbons with a full head of steam. Watch out, Gibbons upended inside the 15. A touchdown-saving tackle by the Vegas native, Malik Hausman, and Gibbons almost brings it back again. You can tell he knew he was a step away from taking it to the house.
That's one of those you hold your breath on. You're wondering whether it'll be a squib kick for Macias. You saw the idea, right? kick it a bit short, maybe get a bounce, but Gibbons was ready for it. He caught it on the run, and then he has a head of steam as he heads toward the other side of the field.
And they will now go to review here to determine if there was still time on the clock.
Now, he did catch the ball against the wall, so I'm wondering if that catch against the wall perhaps on the initial grab is there, but it certainly looked like on the tackle there was zeros on the board when he went down at the end of the play.
And because he was not touched, Gibbons, going into the wall, he's good to make that catch, and the play is not dead there. You would have thought, based on the 4 seconds being left, there would have been no way after he crossed midfield that Gibbons would have gone down with any time remaining. But now we'll have to run it back, take a look at how the timing all worked out as the officials come together. Reed Brotherton, veteran official, goes over to the review area and takes a look.
Better to get it right now and make sure that there is no time, because certainly if you're Arizona, although there might be 1 second, that's all you need.
Well, Mike Davis, he's ready for the halftime interview. He's like, yeah, there's no way they're putting a second on the clock. I'm surprised. We'll get a full look at how this played out timing-wise. I did not think there was any chance there was a second still on the clock.
You already see 2 seconds there, and he's still got a long way to go, and you see it at zeros there. So unless he touched the sideline perhaps and one of the Nighthawks got a hand on him, it's tough to see how there's going to be any time left in the half. Although this is quite a long review, so they might see something.
You're right. The only thing you could possibly look at is, and we'll see it again here, was Gibbons potentially into the wall, and was he touched? I don't think he ever was. I mean, that seems pretty obvious. That should be zeros on the clock. And going to halftime. Vegas, by the way, they did win the toss and deferred to the second half.
The ruling that feels confirmed. It is halftime. There were 0 seconds on the clock at the end of the play.
Reed Brotherton makes the call, and that brings us to the half. Mike Davis, he knew it all the way. He's ready to go as he's standing by with our Mariah Janos down on the field.
Oh, yeah, he couldn't have been more sure. But, Coach, as expected, Arizona came in very aggressively. How do you feel about the way your team has responded to that aggression?
Good. I told him you'd probably get hit in the mouth early, and we did, and we responded, and I'm happy for him. We got a long way to go, though.
What adjustments do you want to see in that second half, especially around special teams?
We just need to clean up a few things. Not anything in particular, but just clean up a few things on offense and defense, but especially special teams.
Any update on CJ?
Not sure. I'll find out when I go in.
All right, thank you so much. Good luck. Guys?
Thanks so much, Mariah. Tight as we expected. At the half, it's the Vegas Nighthawks 28, Arizona Rattlers 20 in the Nighthawks' first postseason game in franchise history. Our Centennial Subaru halftime show is coming up next from downtown Henderson. The Nighthawks with a narrow 28-20 lead over the Arizona Rattlers as we hit halftime. A reminder that Silver Knights hockey returns to Lee Family Forum this October with an air of mystery surrounding the home opener, presenting the mystery ticket offer on October 18th, where fans have the opportunity to purchase tickets for a flat rate of $30 with seats randomly assigned in high-demand areas, including on the glass. This is a limited-time offer. For more information, visit HendersonSilverKnights.com. As we welcome you in, it's our Centennial Subaru halftime show. I'm Ben Wilson back at Lee's Family Forum. So pleased to be joined by the always well-dressed Gabe Mirabelli, Chief Business Officer, celebrating in general, Gabe, for this building that has been open since 2022. First playoff game for any of the tenants in the building's history. What's this night been like with a great crowd on hand?
We've been looking forward to this moment, whether it's across our Silver Knights franchise, our Nighthawks franchise. We're an organization that is used to being in the playoffs, so when this happened, we were geared up and ready to go. But it's so fantastic for our players, our staff, our fans, just to see this building full and giving them a reason to come out and be excited. We're over the moon.
No question, when you think about the success that a team like the Vegas Golden Knights has had, fans expect winning right away, yet in the IFL it's tough. When you're building a franchise from scratch, what can you say about having worked with the head coach, GM Mike Davis, every day, who doesn't want to take a lot of the credit, but just how hard it is to make that transition and get yourself from a 5-win team to now competing for a title?
Well, and you got to think about it, too. This is a brand new franchise, and there's no expansion draft, right? You got to start from the bottom and build your culture, find the pieces, find the players. And honestly, I think for Mike to have done it on the timeline that he has is really impressive, but speaks to the work that he puts in 365 days a year. When the season ends, he's still here doing everything, recruiting, doing jerseys, ordering equipment. So just all the hard work that he puts in, I'm so happy for him, and obviously we're thrilled to be able to celebrate with our fans.
It certainly helps that as a representation of the league here, it's third straight year that the Lee's Family Forum will host the national championship game. What's it been like, too, when you think about your past of the last couple of years while Vegas was not in the playoff hunt, the fact that you guys have had experience getting to host really, really high-level games and welcoming in fans from all over the place?
I won't say we're happy to have had the practice, but fingers crossed,
Yeah.
Hopefully the practice will pay off. And again, we've got a couple more steps along the way, but just to think that to be able to host this in our city with our team, fingers crossed, we're looking forward to it. If this keeps up, I'll feel even better about it.
No doubt. Chief Business Officer Gabe Mirabelli joining us on the halftime show. Always a pleasure to catch up, man. We'll see you on the link soon.
Absolutely.
Gabe Mirabelli with us at halftime. We'll check in with our Mariah Janos when we come back to the Centennial Subaru halftime show. Vegas on top of Arizona in the first round of the IFL playoffs. 28-20 at the break from Lee's Family Forum.
back into the Centennial Subaru halftime show. The Vegas Nighthawks up 28-20 over the Arizona Rattlers. Alt-Rock legends Everclear take the stage at Lee's Family Forum on September 21st to rock the Stronghold in Henderson, joined by special guests Marcy Playground and Jimmy's Chicken Shack. It's a lineup packed with hits that define the 90s and promises an unforgettable evening of music, energy, and nostalgia. Tickets are on sale now. Visit leesfamilyforum.com. We've got a big second half coming up. The Nighthawks up 28-20. We got stats and highlights from that wild first half coming up next after the break.
The Vegas Nighthawks lead Arizona at the half. Our Centennial Subaru halftime show continues. A lot of great action, Justin, on both ends, with Arizona getting the scoring started. But after that, it was Vegas on an extended 28-6 run.
And for the Nighthawks, really just doing whatever they could to respond to Arizona. Arizona responding in their own right, as you see with a kickoff return touchdown here. But after that opening drive touchdown, the Nighthawks putting a couple on the board, sandwiching a turnover from Dalton Sneed on a fumble. Bosanevich struggled in the kicking game for Arizona, and just as we've come to expect, Jerome Johnson, a key factor for the Nighthawks. Both these teams keeping up offensively. Neither team could really extend the lead too far, as again, each team would find a response. This was the last one, though, the last lap in the half. Quentin Randolph with a touchdown to put the Nighthawks up by 8. That's where we stand right now at halftime.
As we take a look at the first half stats, the quarterback play has been out of this world, like you would expect, Justin, even though there hasn't been as much yardage. Needless to say, the general performance, especially once we've gotten into the red zone, has been really, really good. A combined 5 of 6 efficiency on third down for the two teams as well. These quarterbacks combined for 12 of 13 through the air. Our third quarter is coming up next. Vegas on top by 8. Back inside Lee's Family Forum, ready for the start of the second half. Vegas 28, Arizona 20. It is a game that has lived up to the billing so far, back and forth. Really the only differentiating factor has been a red zone turnover by Arizona. As you get a good look at head coach and GM Mike Davis. Matchup of the 2 and 3 seeds in the Western Conference semifinals. Back with Justin Russo. I'm Ben Wilson, rest of our outstanding crew led by our producer Joe Nicola, director Paul Dubray. Both locally here on Fox 5 in Las Vegas and around the country on Stadium and the IFL's YouTube stream. It's kind of what we figured, though. It would be the smallest of margins that would decide this one. And as Vegas gets the ball to start the second half, it's certainly a situation where the ball is in their court. You keep scoring, you will win the game. It's just a matter of can Arizona get any stops. We send it down to our third member of the team. Mariah Janos has a quick note before we get this half underway.
All right, I got Bryce Hampton here with me. Bryce, just really quick before I let you get into this game here, what was the message from Coach at the half?
Just stay consistent, get a stop, and let our offense stretch our legs so we could take off with this one.
All right, Bryce, thank you so much. Good luck, guys.
Great stuff, Mariah, as Jericho Flowers nearly has the ball ripped out of his grip by Devontae Merriweather. But it's a return out to the 15, and that's where Vegas takes over. Quarterback Jerome Johnson, you couldn't have asked for much more, Justin. 6-6, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half, also 2 rushing touchdowns as well.
Starting to sound like a broken record on Jerome Johnson because he just does this every week for this Nighthawks team. It's in the run game, in the pass game, wherever he can find success. He typically has a way to do it. And Jerome Johnson, as you see there, flawless under center through the air. He's added 29 rushing yards and a couple of touchdowns after a pretty slow start on the ground, most of that coming in the second quarter.
Johnson this year now, 18 touchdowns in 10 quarters against Arizona. Hands to Antonio Wimbush. Not much running room. Good pursuit by Connor Taylor, who was a bright spot for Arizona in that first half. You go back to the start of the year, not much was known about what to expect for Jerome Johnson. He did play 9 games as a rookie for Green Bay, but had an injury last year. Numbers didn't exactly jump off the page. But he comes out, and with Vegas as 2 touchdown underdogs in their season opener, stuns Arizona on the road, and that really began what has been the Jerome Johnson experience in Henderson this year.
And it's not only him finding a good spot here in Henderson, it's the marriage with Curtis Shin and the way that those two have been able to play off of each other. It's just been a perfect combination for this offense.
Drops back on second down. Wants it all. It is intercepted. Jermaine Dobbs wins the one-on-one battle with Marquise Lawson, and Arizona had the takeaway they needed to get.
Marquise Lawson going down the field. We've talked about C.J. Wyndham being out. Of course, you go back a little bit further, Caleb Hawley, a season-ending injury in the wide receiver core for this team. So some of that chemistry might not be there between Jerome Johnson and some of these newer weapons. He decides to take a shot down the field, has time in the pocket. It's a 50-50 ball, and you have to give credit to Dobbs for getting up there and snagging it on the interception.
Now you saw that ball hit the turf as Dobbs is coming down. Mike Davis thinking about challenging, but has yet to throw the flag. The coaches are giving that a long look up at the Jumbotron as Dalton Sneed fires. That one's almost intercepted. James Caesar has recorded interceptions in each of the 2 games against Arizona this year. It looked like Dobbs had just enough control, even though that ball did hit the ground, but after both quarterbacks were so good, Justin, a couple of shaky throws here.
Take another look at this one from Jerome Johnson. And typically, again, that's one you'd see to Randolph or to Wyndham or earlier in the season to Hawley. And you like the trust that Jerome Johnson has in his receiver to make the play, but just wasn't able to elevate on that one. And then Dalton Sneed on the other end, almost giving it right back.
Sneed, another near interception. Bryce Hampton breaks it up. That is really what's defined this Vegas secondary. Super young, weren't sure what to expect out of him coming in with no indoor experience. But Bryce Hampton, he's tied for the IFL lead in picks. James Caesar tied for 6th right behind him.
The youth has really stepped up on the back end of the defense for Vegas. We've heard the term complementary football thrown out a couple of times by the guys on the team. Well, now you're seeing it. Offense wasn't able to do their thing, but the defense so far in the first 2 downs has stepped up, creating a 3rd and long.
As the fans make some noise inside Lee's Family Forum, first ever playoff game for the Nighthawks. McCoy the blitz. Sneed hit as he throws. Big catch. Jamal Miles in space. And a massive play for the Rattlers to get out of the shadow of their own end zone.
Really similar to what we saw from the Nighthawks after Jerome Johnson had a couple of negative plays. They had a 3rd and long deep in their own territory. They were able to get out of it. Now Dalton Sneed, look at him finding that window there as Hernandez back in coverage. Can't get to the wide receiver Miles, and he extends the play, runs to the first down marker, and picks up a chunk for this Arizona team.
And Miles has been around so long. He was on the All-Pac-10 team back in the day at ASU. Brooks hit hard as he goes down for a loss. Big Claude Davis gets the tackle for loss. As we take a look at Dalton Sneed, the quarterback who made that big throw a moment ago for Arizona, and all the connections he has to Las Vegas. Sneed started for a year at UNLV back in 2016. He was part of the 2014 recruiting class. As he committed, came to Vegas, but only lasted 1 year. Finished his career at Montana, where he put up big numbers. Sneed then started on opening night for Vegas in 2022. There's a good look at Dalton Sneed for Mike Davis. Only played a half season. As he throws high, Miles the catch, and is into the wall. And out of play there as it brings up 3rd and long. But a bit of a winding route to get to his home state IFL team, or one of the 3 home state IFL teams for the Scottsdale native. Vegas, then Sioux Falls, wins a title for Bay Area, and then not an easy job to step into, though, replacing a legendary quarterback in Drew Powell, who had a very surprising departure after a playoff shortcoming last year in an upset loss to Northern Arizona.
A winding route, but a guy through that route that built a lot of confidence in himself and his play, winning an IFL championship. He knows that he has what it takes to command this offense.
And Mike Davis knows very well the game of Dalton Sneed. 3rd and 8. Miles in the flat, long way to go, and Maurice Jackson wraps him up at the line.
Maurice Jackson terrorizing this Rattlers offense again. We mentioned what he did in the first half of the season in Arizona, and right there on a little pass to the left side, immediately gets into pursuit and wraps his man down as Miles has nowhere to go. And given where they are on the field, Dawson Evans' struggles so far, it's the offense that stays on the field for Arizona on 4th down.
Arizona 7th in the league, 54% this year on 4th downs. Nighthawks in their final regular season game limited Tucson to 0 for 3 on their 4th downs. Flag down at the snap, and they'll blow it dead. False start before a 4th and 8.
False start. Offense number 94. 5-yard penalty. It's 4th down.
Now you can hear Lamar Mady, the former Oakland Raider, who played 3 seasons on the Raiders roster in the mid-2010s. He thought there was early movement. Reed Brotherton disagrees, and it is now 4th and forever here for Arizona.
Offense will stay out on the field, though, and as we take a look at that offensive line, quick little jump there. Mady, the left guard, of course, lining up against Maurice Jackson. That's a tall task there. You certainly want to get out of your stance as quickly as you can. Jumped a bit early. As you said, Ben, 4th and forever coming up here for the Rattlers.
After Arizona just picked off Jerome Johnson, Nighthawks try to return the favor on 4th down. Sneed, deep ball, knocked away. Could have been 6 the other way had Hampton brought it in, but regardless, the Nighthawks get a turnover on downs. And the IFL's co-interception leader had his eyes on another one. The defense showing out to start the second half, and head coach Mike Davis is all smiles as we step aside. Vegas 28, Arizona 20 in the 3rd.
Welcome back. The Nighthawks up 28-20 over Arizona in the third. And we've talked about it all year long, how young this group of DBs are. Honestly, this whole defensive unit. But I caught up with the veteran of the defense, Gabe McCoy, and he told me that this is probably the best DB group he has ever played with in his life, including college. And it's just great to see these guys come in, learn how to play together, learn how to play fast, and learn how to play physical, and you're seeing it pay off right now.
You're totally right, Mariah. Gabe McCoy would know that as someone who is playing in his franchise-leading 43rd game tonight, one of just two players who's been on the roster all 3 years for the Nighthawks. Darius Williams, you saw him on the bench a moment ago, has played in 24 career CFL
the nose
games.
guard was out of his stance at the snap. The play is under review.
And as you hear Reed Brotherton here coming out of break, Arizona has had the commercial. They've had a long time to look at this, and Arizona will challenge.
But they're challenging for an illegal defense, as the referee was saying, the nose guard not in his stance at the snap. So just as much as the offensive linemen have to be set in their stance in the IFL, so too to the defensive linemen. They have to be ready. No stunts are allowed, no movement on the defensive line. And they saw something in that replay that indicates that they might be able to extend this drive and get themselves the ball back, but we'll see what comes up here on the replay review for the Rattlers.
That's a massive decision and a gamble here by head coach Kevin Guy because of the timeout, the challenge situation. Officials getting a good look. Nice angle for us looking down at the bunker there. You lose this challenge and you're down to 2 timeouts.
It'll be the nose guard right in the middle there.
Lee Autry.
Number 90, Lee Autry, jumped a little bit.
Now, was he at all anchored to his stance? That's the next question that Reed Brotherton and crew have to answer.
And they're taking a long look at this. Of course, you see the multiple angles that they have there. Want to make sure they get this one right, but at the very least, on first look, a worthy challenge from Kevin Guy, given how the momentum could swing given the result of that play.
Yeah, obvious movement by Lee Autry, but his hand did stay anchored to the turf, even despite the flinch, yet so often you see those that do get called on illegal defense in real time.
Again, right in the middle of the defensive line, number 90, Lee Autry, right over the center. And was there enough movement there for an illegal defense? And again, the great thing about the IFL, anything is challengeable. And they had a long look at it, so doing everything they can to put themselves in the best position here. You see a look from the end zone. And a tough call for the referees here. And, of course, a massive
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Number 99's hand was down at the snap. It's a turnover on downs. It'll be Vegas' ball, 1st and 10. Arizona's charged a timeout and has a challenge remaining.
And Reed Brotherton explaining the crucial element of that. You can flinch with your body, but it's all about that anchor hand staying connected to the turf. And Lee Autry was close, but he just barely kept his fingertip down there. Another huge ad this year on the defensive side. Lee Autry, who has been a CFL vet, played in a Grey Cup with the Hamilton Tiger Cats a couple years ago. And the gamble backfires there for Kevin Guy. Arizona down to 2 timeouts. Still 1 challenge remaining for the Rattlers. As Jerome Johnson and the Nighthawks take over, a slip by blitzing linebacker Connor Taylor allows Johnson to take off. Solid run as a late flag comes down behind the play.
Flag coming in the area where Jerome Johnson was. Typically where you'd see an offensive hold. But we'll see.
Offense, number 6. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Repeat first down.
And not a block or a attempt there to block that Antonio Wimbush really had to make. Johnson was well down the field already, and I think Connor Taylor was blitzing and just completely lost his footing there. Injury timeout. Taylor has to exit. That is a huge storyline for Arizona. They're already down 2 other linebackers. Trey Farrell came in, was brilliant in his 5 games, led the team with 9.5 tackle for loss, one of the best linebackers in the league. He went on season-ending IR July 15th. They bring in Cecil Cherry for his 2nd stint. He immediately gets hurt and goes on IR. Now Taylor is hurt, and it looks like Devontae Merriweather, former IFL Defensive Player of the Year, will now man the linebacker spot. Johnson gives to Wimbush. flushed outside to the boundary and forced into the wall. Really nice pursuit by Omari Alexander. With Merriweather now shifting to linebacker, that means an extra DB has to come in, and Alexander was good in the first couple games against the Nighthawks. 7 combined tackles and a pass defended, and he helps make that stop.
Things moving all around on this defense, but they're a bit used to it given how many injuries they've had, similar to the story for the Nighthawks. We talked to Mike Davis, and he says, hey, it's just the next man up. We've been in this situation before. When guys go down, you have to step up, and looking down the tunnel there, you see Taylor trying to still stretch out that leg, just now took his helmet off on the Rattlers bench.
2nd and 21. Play fake. Johnson has a man, but it looked a short hop. And now, no, the officials are saying catch for Quentin Randolph. Looked like Randolph had to dig that off the turf.
And the Nighthawks hurrying here to ensure there's no challenge. They want to get this next play off quickly.
Kevin Guy, he's asking for confirmation from his bench. He's yet to throw the challenge flag. They are screaming over it, and that happened right in front of the bench, and now the challenge comes. But that's the thing. This is the final challenge now for Arizona on what looked to be in real time just a miss by the officials.
The field of a catch. The play is under review.
Upon first look, I think to both of us up here, it did look like it was incomplete. And this is a route that Johnson's thrown many times this game to Randolph. And you see it looks like the ball does just hit the turf there as Randolph goes to secure it. And, of course, right in front of the Rattlers bench, they have perhaps the best look of anyone in the arena at it. And you take a closer look there, and it does indeed look like that ball hits the turf. So this one should be coming back. But again, to your point, a challenge that you don't want to have to make if you're Kevin Guy, but you're almost forced to because of the miss.
As they take a look, Reed Brotherton, our head ref. Poor Jeff Jarnigan over there, the GM for the Rattlers, also the D-line special teams coach, looked like he was about to just blow a gasket. As the Arizona bench, they saw what clearly happened, and this will get overturned. Now, Quentin Randolph tried to sell it, but obviously it did hit the turf on a ball that just came a little bit wobbly out of the hand of Jerome Johnson. Not only that, the bench for Arizona, but a lot of fans have made the trip from the Phoenix area. Rattlers play their home games in Glendale, which is a change this year. Previously played in downtown Phoenix at the Footprint Center. A lot of Rattler fans over there right by the bench, too, who've made the trip.
Trying to will that call into existence down there. And again, just a miss by Jerome Johnson, because that is a route that we've seen completed 2 or 3 times already in this game. And back at the 15-yard line is where that initial snap came, so that's where it's going to go back to. 15-15 on the throw, but back on their own side of the field if this one gets overturned.
It would be a 3rd and very long as well. 6:46 to go in the 3rd quarter. In a game the Nighthawks lead 28-20 on top of Arizona.
Okay, Riz, your turn.
And Reed Brotherton continues to look at it.
A longer look than I would have expected, given what we have both seen here, at least on the first few looks here. But, of course, there's timing aspects of it, yardage aspects of it. You want to get everything right.
There you saw Jeff Jarnigan down there on the left side of that bench. There are some of the Rattler fans who've made the trip. One of the most successful franchises in indoor history. Great fan base to boot. Have been a franchise consistently drawing in big pro arenas near 10,000 fans a game. And here's one final look at it. I just don't see how you don't overturn this.
If you're the Nighthawks, you do have the initial call going in your favor, so they have to see enough to overturn it. But, of course, taking a longer look than we expected. But for this Nighthawks offense, you look at the spot that they're in. They have the interception on the first play, or the first drive coming out of halftime. Your defense gets you a key stop. Now you're essentially resetting.
After review, the ball hit the ground. It's an incomplete pass. The ball will be returned to the previous spot, where it'll be 3rd down. Arizona charged a timeout, and it's out of challenges.
That last sentence, though, by Reed Brotherton, that is what made the previous challenge decision so impactful for Kevin Guy, because similar rules to the NFL, you only get an additional challenge if you win your first 2. So Arizona's out of challenges. you had to challenge that one. It was obvious. It's a huge play in the game. He forced Vegas into a 3rd and 21, but that's the biggest consequence here. Arizona, no challenges, and that's sort of the tough break of it. I mean, it was just a miss by the officials. Now, Arizona, by losing a previous challenge, out for the rest of the game. 3rd and 21. Blitz comes. Johnson goes for it all. Jump ball is picked again. Jermaine Dobbs for the 2nd straight possession, but there is a flag down back near the line of scrimmage.
And I believe this is going to be illegal defense.
Illegal defense. Arizona number 8 was not stationary at the snap. 5-yard penalty to the previous spot. Repeat, 3rd down.
All over it, Justin, and it was Quentin Randolph, the intended target. While that was happening, Devontae Merriweather a little too anxious leaving his linebacker spot. Remember, he just moved into that linebacker spot a couple plays ago.
That's some of the little details that you might not be used to dealing with at that position. You're thrusting a new guy in who's typically a defensive back there. You see the blitzer right in the middle of your screen there, coming right through the gut. And, of course, you have to be 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And then once the ball is snapped, you can go as a blitzer. Jerome Johnson taking it essentially as a shot play there, seeing if he could get a 50-50 ball to Randolph.
Wipe out the pick, still 3rd and long. Johnson has Randolph. After all of that, the Nighthawks pick up the 1st down. What a sequence.
They essentially go back to the same play that we spent a lot of time looking at on the review. Quentin Randolph going out to the left, right in front of the Rattlers bench. This time Johnson makes the accurate throw. Randolph hauls it in. And again, for this Nighthawks offense, they've found themselves in some difficult positions on long 3rd downs, but they continue to connect and continue to string together longer drives and looking to add on to their 8-point lead here in the 3rd quarter.
Quentin Randolph, such a big factor tonight. He's won everywhere he's played. College at D2 West Florida, IFL for Northern Arizona. Here it's Wimbush with a seam. Wimbush to pay dirt. Touchdown.
Finally, Antonio Wimbush getting into the end zone. We talked about the struggles that Arizona's had on the defensive line and the defensive front 4. You saw Connor Taylor go out a bit earlier, and the Nighthawks able to get a gashing run to the right side from Antonio Wimbush, almost untouched as he waltzes into the end zone. And the Nighthawks, what they expected and wanted to do on their first drive of the second half, they have now achieved here on drive number 2.
Kevin Macias on for the PAT. A perfect 5 for 5 tonight. Antonio Wimbush, first game since week 9. His 11th touchdown of the season gives Vegas the first 2-score lead of the night. 35-20 as the Nighthawks lead with 4:47 to go in the 3rd. And it's Wimbush all the way. Vegas with a 35-20 lead. And another reminder, try your luck at every Nighthawks home game. Scan the QR code right there on your screen and take part in the 52-48 raffle. Enter each home game's drawing with a chance to win 52% of the total pot, while also contributing to benefit the VKH Foundation and its charitable efforts. You can scan that code now. You must be present in Nevada to play. Kevin Macias, the end-over-end kick. Glenn Gibbons has returned one to the house already. Nice spin move to create some space. Glenn Gibbons, one of the better all-around returner wide receiver athletes in the IFL, brings it out to the 20-yard line. Right now, though, Arizona needs to find some sort of cohesion on offense, Justin, as it just has not been there to start this second half.
They had a golden opportunity after the interception to start the half from Jerome Johnson, but it was the Nighthawks defense that really started to clamp down, and they forced a turnover on downs to get themselves that scoring drive of 5 plays and 27 yards, with Antonio Wimbush finishing it off with a 14-yard scamper to pay dirt.
Dalton Sneed with a give to Shannon Brooks, hit hard from behind. Maurice Jackson flexing right at the Arizona bench. One of the best young D linemen in the game now in his 3rd year in the IFL, and he followed his DC Xavier Jackson and former head coach Herdishin to Vegas, and the Nighthawks have certainly reaped the rewards.
Maurice Jackson has been all over the field really in the last couple of weeks for this Nighthawks team. Forced that fumble on Dalton Sneed earlier there in pursuit of a speedy Shannon Brooks, chases him down on the back end of that play and forces an almost negative play for Arizona.
Sneed down the seam, it's dropped by Brooks. Williams was ready to make the big hit, but it's just not been Brooks' night, who scored 5 touchdowns the last time these two teams squared off here.
One that he certainly wants back. Sneed looking over the middle to Shannon Brooks. A catchable ball. Had to outstretch those arms just a bit, but one you certainly want to haul in, and you can see the frustration on his face there. And now it creates another 3rd and long for the Rattlers. They've had success at converting some in this game, but it's not a position you want to habitually put yourself in.
2 for 3 tonight on 3rd downs to this point. 3rd and 9. Sneed, pressure coming. Oh, the shovel pass, and Brooks has just enough. Boomeranged forward by the tackle from behind to Lee Autry. How about that inventiveness from Dalton Sneed, with Hernandez giving chase.
Some creativity from Dalton Sneed here. Look at Hernandez coming around the edge, just able to shovel it out to Shannon Brooks. And how about that for making up for the drop on the last play? Brooks finding some open space, making the one-handed grab, and picking up the 1st down.
Especially with the way the game is going, running clock in the IFL, this feels as close to a gotta-have-it drive if you're Arizona as possible. 15-point lead for Vegas, final 2:20 of the 3rd quarter. Sneed knocked down at the line. Hernandez couldn't quite get there on the last play, but gets his big paw up to knock it down.
Really smart play by Lorenzo Hernandez here. Always have to try to get those paws up if you're a defensive lineman. Do whatever you can to impact the play. Only had 1 pass defense this year. Picks up number 2 there, but picks a pretty good time to do it to force a 2nd and long.
That has clearly been part of the game plan, though, for Mike Davis's defense against Dalton Sneed in Arizona. They had a pick on Sneed in the first meeting here when Lee Autry got his hand on the ball in the red zone, understanding Sneed wants to get rid of it quickly. It's a draw on 2nd and 10. Lots of running room as Sneed lurches inside the 10, bringing up 3rd and short as we close in on the end of the 3rd quarter.
So again, Dalton Sneed might not have the speed, the top-end speed or the elusiveness of Jerome Johnson, but he can still run the football effectively. Picks up a solid chunk of 9 yards there on that design quarterback run. Having his chat with head coach Kevin Guy, seeing what they want to do on this 3rd and short here, but a must pick up for Arizona.
He did have 10 rushing touchdowns this year. Dalton Sneed to 40 touchdown passes in his 12 games. Missed a 5-week stretch, including the first game against Vegas after an injury on opening day. Blitz comes. Sneed in the slot. Caught by Reed. Fights inside the 5 for a 1st and goal Arizona. And Reed, who was huge on the opening drive, pretty quiet until that play.
They've really struggled to continually get him into the game plan. Of course, he had that rushing touchdown early on, but it was Najir Jackson with the touchdown in the back of the end zone later on. Gibbons with the kick return on special teams chipping in. And now again inside the 5-yard line, Arizona looking to convert, but taking more time off of the clock. Nice tackle inside the 5 by the Nighthawks defense to continue to bleed this clock.
Time for one more play in this quarter. Brooks hit hard at the line, and Gabe McCoy did just enough to prevent Shannon Brooks from crossing the goal line. That's how the third quarter comes to an end. Arizona does trail by 2 scores, but on the doorstep inside the 1. We'll flip the field. That's where Arizona will be as we start the fourth quarter. Western Conference semifinals underway tonight. The Vegas Nighthawks in their first ever playoff game in franchise history with a 35-20 lead. As we head to the fourth quarter, coming your way right after this.
Antonio, thank you so much, guys. I'll send it back up to you. Welcome back. The Vegas Nighthawks up 35-20 at the end of the third quarter, and I have here with me Antonio Wimbush. Your first game back since week 9. You broke into the end zone. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Just glad to be out here with my brothers.
And talk about your defense stepping up, really complementing this offense and really keeping you guys alive.
For sure. They're definitely making the plays. We got to capitalize on it, though. You know, we're always putting ourselves in a bad situation, and we just got to fix the little things, and that's it. Just got to finish the game.
All right, Antonio, thank you so much, guys. I'll send it back up to you.
Thanks so much, Mariah. Great to hear from Antonio Wimbush. First game back since week 9. As we start the fourth quarter, it's a 2nd and goal inside the 1 for Arizona. Knocking on the door with Dalton Sneed under center. Sneed, the old school give. Brooks dives, knifes through a double team of Nighthawks and is into the end zone. Arizona starts the quarter with a bang. We have a long way to go here, Justin, as it's down to a 9-point game.
Exactly what the Rattlers needed. Something to stop the bleeding there after the Nighthawks got out to a 15-point lead. Shannon Brooks getting out on the edge. Some solid blocking. See, especially at the wide receiver position, making sure some of those edge defenders can't come in and make the tackle. And Shannon Brooks, who has struggled a bit in this game, starting to find his stride on this drive, gets the Rattlers back in it.
Dawson Evitz has really struggled, missing his first 2 PATs, but looked a lot more comfortable on that one. Arizona going for the PAT to make sure it would be an 8-point game. And as we're just underway to the fourth quarter, it is 35-27 on Shannon Brooks's 29th rushing touchdown of the year, which is now solo 4th in the IFL. With Vegas up 35-27. Hey, a reminder that the Nighthawks are chasing a title in 2024, but it's never too early to get your seats secured for the 2025 season. Season tickets for high-flying Nighthawks football are on sale now at family-friendly prices. Visit nighthawksfootball.com today and join the flight. I have to say, Justin, all things considered, for a Vegas team that is very, very young in their first ever postseason game up against an Arizona team that has been in the postseason nearly 3 decades combined of experience. The Nighthawks certainly have not had any of those young team mental errors that you might have expected coming into the game tonight.
Arizona's a team that you're not going to expect to make too many mistakes, and we've talked about the fine margins. You're going to have to force them into some mistakes. We saw the turnover from Maurice Jackson, the turnover on downs that they got in the third quarter. The Nighthawks have just been calm and composed. Head coach Mike Davis saying earlier, there's no real message, just do what we do, and we'll be all right. And so far, it's been that, and as we heard from Antonio Wimbush in this offense, time to go out and finish the game.
The reality now is the game does rest on the offense's shoulders. You come out, a couple of touchdown drives, and you punch your ticket to the Western Conference Final. Jericho Flowers with a nice return around the edge. Flowers is the all-time leader with 5 return touchdowns in his career. And it's another opportunity for quarterback Jerome Johnson, the Nighthawk offense, to take the field, a look at just some of what Johnson's been able to do tonight.
Big touchdown early on to C.J. Wyndham through the air. This one getting it done on the ground for Jerome Johnson. Slowly but surely has gotten that run game going. That was quite an easy one early in the first half. And for Jerome Johnson, just doing what he's done all season. Just taking what the defense gives him. Had the one pick, but bounced back from it right after that. And he is certainly in command of this offense right now and would love nothing more than to put another 6 on the board.
4 combined touchdowns tonight for Johnson. And he starts on the ground. A nice job to pinch in by Arizona, coming around the outside, and Rashawn Yates, the first-year Rattler out of South Florida, who makes the stop. That was a big story, though, when Johnson faced the Rattlers in the first couple meetings. 116 rushing yards in his Nighthawk debut, 4th most rushing yards by anybody in the IFL this year. Then an additional 79 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. And obviously the strategy has been, let's just make sure Johnson doesn't beat us with his legs.
And not only can he be effective on the ground, and why Arizona's putting so much pressure against him there, he can downright put an entire 100 yards, 150 yards on you on any given night.
Blitz picked up by Wimbush. Johnson with all sorts of space, making men miss, slides down to the 15. How crucial was that block in pass pro by Wimbush?
He's been excellent in that area out of the backfield. He's had a couple that haven't led to such big runs by Jerome Johnson, but he's always been there. He's always been finding the right guy to block. You see Merriweather coming up the middle, ends up taking his man down. He falls down, and Jerome Johnson doesn't need a lot of space to get working, and he had a ton of it there. So when you have that much open space, you expect a couple of missed tackles for Jerome. That's exactly what he did to get that first down.
And Devontae Merriweather, normally a DB, has a pick 6 in his career against Vegas, but because of injury has to move to the linebacker spot as head coach and GM Mike Davis looks on. Back to the ground game. Wimbush, not much there. You could hear the hit up here. Man, Omari Alexander coming to play tonight off the bench.
Nothing is easy against this Rattlers defense, and really in the IFL as a whole. There's not a lot of space out there, and when you go to the edge, there's going to be someone waiting for you at some point, as Antonio Wimbush just found out on that play, but he's no worse for wear. Picked up a couple of yards out of it, and Nighthawks looking to continue on. Of course, they're in no such hurry to get things going here. Just want to make sure they get the right play and the right execution to continue to keep Arizona at arm's distance.
A 2nd and 8 for Vegas. Another blitz picked up by Wimbush again. Johnson backs up. Dangerous throw is picked off. And it is Devontae Merriweather, who had the pick 6 in the first meeting between these two teams a couple years ago. A bad decision by Johnson, and Merriweather's turned the game.
That's one for Johnson where you just have to find a way to live to fight another day. Tried to force one, and it was an interception the other way. Crucial for the Rattlers.
A former IFL Defensive Player of the Year drops back and picks it off. Arizona ball down by 8 when we come back. Vegas 35, Arizona 27, but Devontae Merriweather with a huge play. As we get another look, Justin, you see the throw, and Tony Wimbush lost his helmet here while getting caught up in the wash with Merriweather on that play.
Goes for a bit of a rough ride there, as those two have been jostling ever since Merriweather came into that linebacker spot. But for Johnson, you just can't make that throw. You have to throw it out of bounds and live for third down.
It's Corey Reed starting the drive for Arizona, who all of a sudden have some newfound life. A short pickup for Reed after Devontae Merriweather, who had the first pick six in this building's history back in 2022, has an interception. Well, Arizona's done the hard part. They've gotten a stop on one of the best offenses in the IFL. Now what can their own offense do that has been hit or miss? A couple of giveaways so far tonight.
And remember, we were in this same situation after the Jerome Johnson interception to start the third quarter. 8-point lead for the Nighthawks. Defense needs to respond.
Sneed, a bullet to Jamal Miles, has quickly developed this year into one of Sneed's favorite targets. Miles leads the team. That is now over 60 catches this year for Miles. The former Arizona State Sun Devil and sixth-year Rattler brings it into Nighthawk territory.
14 touchdowns to go along with that for Miles and for Dalton Sneed. And this offense just trying to find any way to get back even that they can. They've been chasing this game for the majority of it. And as we've mentioned, the Nighthawks were the ones with the timely turnovers in the first two meetings. The Rattlers now have been on the more beneficial side of that. They have to find a way to take advantage offensively.
Sneed on the draw. Good blocking from Brooks, the running back. And look at Dalton Sneed. It's his former teammate, Jericho Flowers. Those two were on the opening night roster for Vegas, the first ever opening night roster back in 2022. And Sneed is certainly fired up on a first and goal.
Good reason to be fired up after the long run. This is a guy that certainly knows what it takes to win at the highest level of this league. You can see how much effort and how much determination he's putting into this fourth quarter right here. He wants to get into the end zone more than anybody. And as we're under 10 minutes here, looking to finally tie this game up in the second half.
It's Reed on the give. Through a small hole, extends the ball, and is just short. Knee went down at about the 2 as Reed's extension gets him inside the 1 yard line, and it's second and goal from there.
I like that look for Reed, though, because that's exactly on the same play that he scored on in the first half, just flipped around to the other side. They get him going in motion, they get him out to the edge, and just let him search for something out there. And you see the outstretched left arm, not quite making it to the goal line as the knee comes down, but they're inside the 1 yard line right now on a second and goal, and you have to think another run is in the cards.
It's been a frustrating sequence for Nighthawk head coach Mike Davis. Under center for Sneed. The give. Brooks hit at the line. Did not get in. Great push up front. And it's Gabe McCoy leading the charge, while rookie Bryce Hampton helped make that stop as well. And it's third and goal at the 1. You can tell this is playoff football. I mean, we've had so many goal-to-go situations inside the 2 yard line where it's been tough sledding in the middle.
The intensity is there, and nothing is coming easy. Every yard is being fought for. So important for Gabe McCoy on that last play, too. When you're the first defender there and there's only a yard to go, you have to make it count some way. You have to make your impact felt, and he did just enough to force Brooks back inside where his help was.
Third and goal. Miles is denied. Lee Autry and Darius Williams read it to perfection, and from second and goal inside the 1, it's fourth and goal out near the 5.
All the Rattlers have done is gone backwards in the last couple of plays. No room whatsoever on the outside for Miles. Autry in, Jackson. Throw Darius Williams in the mix too, and for Kevin Guy, down by 8. No thought about this one, leaving the offense on the field as the crowd erupts here at Lee's Family Forum.
Forward progress gets to the 2. What a moment on fourth and goal. And a false start up front, but no, before that, timeout. Wow.
Vegas, they're first.
Vegas wanted to make sure everything was all set. Nervy moments inside Lee's Family Forum as we step aside. 4th and goal, Arizona. Down by 8 when we return to Henderson. What a night we've been treated to as the Western Conference semifinals get underway. Packed house inside Lee's Family Forum with Vegas up 35-27 on Arizona. Biggest moment so far tonight. With a 4th and goal at the 2, 7:09 to go for the Rattlers.
Perhaps the biggest play of the season for the Nighthawks.
Sneed, the design run with blockers in front of him, gets into the end zone. Led by Lamar Mady, the left guard. It's Dalton Sneed who trucks his way forward, and now Arizona will go for 2 to try and tie the game.
Put in the hands of the ball of the quarterback when you need it most. We saw the long run to get down here by Dalton Sneed and how hard he was pushing to pick up every yard. This time they waste no time going right to number 11, send him over to the left side of the formation, and he dives into the end zone to put another touchdown on the board for Arizona. But now you have to get this 2-point conversion if you want to tie things, and still clock ticking down, approaching 6 minutes here in the 4th quarter.
For the tie, Sneed, the throwback, broken up by Caesar. What a play by the rookie. Vegas maintains its narrow margin with 6:10 to go.
Love the play call by Kevin Guy. A little bit of misdirection. You have everyone going right. Dalton Sneed fakes over there and thinks he's going to have an outlet coming back to the left side. But another one of these young defensive backs for Vegas, James Caesar, who picked off Dalton Sneed the last time he came into this building with Miles the entire way and gets that left hand out, outstretches it, knocks the pass away. And Mike Davis extremely happy with the play of his defensive back there and his entire defensive unit, making sure the Nighthawks hold on to the lead.
Well, you know Mike Davis missed feelings like these. This is his first playoff game he's coaching in since he was with the Nebraska Danger back in 2016. Went 4-4 in postseason games. That was a really stark turnaround he led Nebraska to, similar to what he's trying to do here in Vegas, where the team made it to the playoffs his final 3 years there in charge of the Nebraska Danger. Then had a long stint in the CFL, director of player personnel for Saskatchewan, was set to be the D-line coach of Toronto back in 2020 before COVID hit. And now in year 3 as the head coach and GM, leading the Vegas Nighthawks. They have the 2-point lead, but now it's about how will Jerome Johnson respond to throwing a poor interception on the last drive. Evitz with the line drive. This chases Flowers into the end zone. A good angled kick. Flagged down from behind the return as Flowers out across the 15. And you expect this one to be brought back.
Legal block in the back. Receiving team number 6. Half the distance to the goal from the spot of the foul. 1st and 10, Vegas.
That one on Antonio Wimbush. As we update the playoff bracket, both the Eastern Conference semifinals in the books. We do know that top-seeded Green Bay will host third-seeded Massachusetts, who pulled off the first upset of the playoffs, coming from behind to beat Frisco earlier today. That's next weekend in the Eastern Conference final. Winner of this game to take on the winner of Bay Area and San Diego. So for both of these teams playing tonight, there's still a path to potentially hosting the Western Conference final, were San Diego to go into San Jose and upset the Panthers tomorrow. Right now, the focus, though, is on Jerome Johnson, who pitches to Wimbush, gets to the outside. Merriweather hits him up high as Wimbush gets forced into the wall, asking for a face mask, but it looked like there was more just contact to the outside of the helmet. And it's a 6-yard pickup on first down.
It's been a rough go of it for Antonio Wimbush in the past few plays.
Yeah,
of course, had the helmet taken off on the Jerome Johnson interception. That one, some contact up high as well, but he's continued to fight through it. Picked up a healthy 6 yards on that play. And for the Nighthawks, so key that they're able to stay in the lead here. Just have to make sure they do everything they can, time-wise and score-wise, to get themselves back in a favorable position. Hopefully, a 2-score lead for their part.
Johnson, the tuck and run. Makes a man miss. High hurdle out to the 20, where Dylan Winfrey brings down Johnson, and he's in a ton of pain, clutching his right knee. As he came down really hard on the turf, and the training staff is out to look at Johnson.
Tried a little jump cut to get around that tackle, and as he was being brought down, that knee, to your point, slams down into the turf. Take another look here as he takes off, has a ton of room to work, doing what he does best, and just hard into the turf. Now walking off with the athletic trainer. Bit of a limp, goes right to the bench, and now that thrusts Jorge Reyna into the game.
Johnson to the locker room. Reyna immediately popped onto the turf. A couple warm-up throws with DC Xavier Jackson, and here comes Jorge Reyna, who the team brought in preseason. They wanted it to be a legit quarterback battle, and Reyna has a ton of IFL pedigree. Actually played a bunch for Arizona last year when their star quarterback Drew Powell was injured, and was very, very good. 19 touchdowns to 5 picks in 7 games last year for Reyna, who has been really good when called upon this season. The read option, that ball came directly to Wimbush off a soft snap straight back there, and Wimbush on a bit of an awkward play is able to get a 4-yard gain out of it.
Jerome Johnson, the hard tackle here as we take another look. Jumps up into the air, and that left leg is the one that goes down first, but it's the right knee that slams down. And for one play, we had Jorge Reyna into the game, but Jerome Johnson knows how much this means to this team. Right back out there.
It seems to be good to go as we're under 4 minutes to play. Each team with 2 timeouts left. Arizona without any challenges remaining, as it's 2nd and 6, Vegas just shy of midfield. Early movement before the snap.
False start. Offense number 55. 5-yard penalty. It's 2nd down.
Anthony Wiggin in his 3rd straight start for the Nighthawks with the flinch, and it's 2nd and 11.
So now Curtis Shin and Jerome Johnson back with the full complement of the entire playbook here. Of course, Jorge Reyna coming in, still more than capable of running this offense, but Jerome Johnson's the guy you want because of his versatility in the game at this point. Manageable 2nd and 11 here. We'll see if they can make it a 3rd and manageable coming up.
Delayed pressure. Johnson has to heave and just gets rid of it into the Arizona bench. Great pursuit led by Kevin Symes along with Devontae Merriweather. And the way that play developed, Vegas happy to take at least a 3rd and long out of it as we cross the 3-minute mark. And it's been a tough second half here for Johnson. Just 1 of 5, 2 picks since halftime.
It was very similar to the previous interception that he had, just trying to make something happen and throwing it right into Devontae Merriweather. This time, recognizing that there was really nothing there, he's able to get it at least over to the sideline to prevent any further issues, but still some struggles here for Vegas.
Understanding the importance of this sequence, Vegas uses their second timeout before 3rd and 11. 2:42 to go in the game. And from here, you're looking at a very long field goal try. You'd be in the mid-40s range for Kevin Macias. Not something you'd want to settle for at this point. Vegas so far, though, has been so good in these sorts of situations. 4 for 5 on third downs. Second best third down team in the IFL. And it goes back to so much of what you talked about, Justin, that positional versatility for Jerome Johnson, where it's really hard, even on deep down and distances like these, to just assume it'll be a pass for Vegas.
And that's why it brings so many plays in for this Rattlers defense to consider, because if you're hurt or shin, of course you want to pick up that first down, but you have the ability of Jerome Johnson to at least scramble and pick up 7 or 8 yards and make it a manageable 4th down. So interesting to see how aggressive he gets. Do they want it all right now, or do they want to just make it a manageable 4th down for either a field goal attempt or 4th and short?
3rd and 11. Merriweather the blitz. Johnson incomplete, but a flag down after Johnson released the ball.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense with high contact, number 8. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Wow, what a call. Instead of 4th and long, Merriweather gets called for the high hit, and it's a fresh set of downs for Vegas.
That's a game-changing call right there. The late hit by Merriweather on Johnson. Looking again, a free run to Jerome, who got the ball out and hit him just a bit high and late. Enough to warrant that roughing the passer call. The initial timing of that play was a bit of a slow snap. The timing was thrown off as Johnson was looking for Randolph on the right side. But man, oh man, that's a tough one for Merriweather to swallow. And now Reyna back into the game after that hit.
Yeah, hard hit for Johnson. He again exits, goes to the bench. Reyna the design run, trucking his way inside the 15. At the very least, Vegas will be able to run this clock down to the 1-minute warning. It is running clock in the IFL. Touchdown, though, completely changes the calculus. A touchdown and a PAT make it a 9-point game, which technically in the IFL, you could get a touchdown and a 2 and then kick a deuce on the ensuing kickoff, but that's about as low percentage of a 1-score game as you could technically see. And now there's that trust from the offensive coordinator, Herta Shin, into his QB, Jorge Reyna, who has played in 9 games this year at quarterback. Actually, a higher completion percentage than Jerome Johnson this year. Really solid when called upon. 8 touchdowns to just 2 picks, along with 4 rushing scores. As Johnson looks on, that ball hit the in-motion Wimbush, and Vegas gets bailed out with a false start.
Offense, number 55. 5-yard penalty is 2nd down.
Could have been disaster, and that is the one thing to think about. As much as Reyna's gotten a lot of repetition and snaps this year, this is his first action since week 10, and his first action since Anthony Wiggin came into the starting lineup as a center.
There's certainly a trust for Jorge Reyna in this offense. They trust that he can get done what needs to be done, but to your point, chemistry is something that you can't build in 1 or 2 plays or snapping on the sideline to try to warm up. It has to be built through game reps, and that's something that Jorge Reyna just simply hasn't had with Anthony Wiggin as of late. And so starting to run into some issues here, but hopefully with a timeout here as we have a bit of a pause, the Nighthawks can square things away.
Well, the other way, the Nighthawks get bailed out because of the false start. Clock still runs. Instead of it being 3rd down and likely long, now it is the 1-minute warning. 2nd and 14 as you get another look at Johnson taking the roughing the passer. And when we return, Vegas will have the ball 2nd and 14 with 1 minute to go. Nighthawks by 2. Arizona with a couple timeouts left. A great finish in store on the other side. 1 minute to go from Lee's Family Forum. Vegas 35, Arizona 33. Trip to the Western Conference Final at stake. Jorge Reyna still in the game after Jerome Johnson took a high hit a couple plays ago. And Reyna is passing on second down. Throws low and it's incomplete. What a decision as Arizona can save one of its 2 timeouts. Clock stops, 55 seconds to go. And now it's 3rd and long.
Tough decision there, whether to pass or run. You have to think the down and distance factored into it there. They were looking to maybe get some of that yardage back on a 3rd and 14, but it stops the clock here under a minute to go. And as you pointed out, Ben, crucially saves Arizona one of their timeouts. They already lost one from a challenge, and now still have those 2 in their pocket. 3rd and 14 for the Nighthawks.
A drive that started with over 6 minutes to go in the game. Reyna with time, fires wide of his intended target, Quentin Randolph. 51 seconds to go, and now what do? This is in Kevin Macias' range. And he is trotting out onto the field. The man who, in his team debut, made the game-winning kick at the buzzer to stun Arizona from 32 yards out. This will be in that same range. As Macias is set from 35 yards out. 10th in the IFL with 7 made field goals this year. Kick on the way. It is good. Right over the top of the left upright. All smiles for Mike Davis. As once again, in the final minute of a 1-score game against Arizona, the Mesa kid, who was a backup kicker for a couple years at Arizona State, makes a massive field goal. And now that forces Arizona to go all the way the length of the field for the win.
No question about the leg on this one. Over the field goal netting for Kevin Macias, a no-doubter. Putting the Nighthawks up by 5. Head coach Mike Davis. There's the reaction there. Happy with his 5-point lead.
Standing right next to the man who he released, Dalton Sneed. Those two go way back. Mike Davis brought in Sneed. He was his opening night starter, but liked what he had more in rookie Jalen Henderson back in that inaugural season. Sneed asked for his release, went to Sioux Falls, ultimately wins a title in Bay Area. Now they're squaring off in the playoffs tonight. 48 seconds to go. And this is not at all new territory for Kevin Macias. This is what he did opening night for Vegas to stun Arizona at the Horn.
Comfortable in these situations. Mike Davis trusts him in these situations. And no doubt that he was going to be able to get it done when called upon late in this game. Now you go to the kickoff, and with Gibbons, who's had some success in these returns today, already a return touchdown, you wonder what the field position might look like for the Rattlers and what Kevin Macias wants to do on his end of things.
Deuce certainly not out of the equation here, because if you're able to hit the deuce, Macias has hit 4 of them this year, and he has the ball on the part of the end zone where you would think he'd go for it. You make it a 7-point game, you feel a little bit more comfortable if you're the defense in that spot. A lot on the table, though, for Macias. And he will go for the deuce. End over end. He just barely missed it wide left. You have to go with that sort of slingshot motion around the very low-hanging Jumbotron at Lee's Family Forum. It made sense, Justin, to try to take the full touchdown lead. Macias just barely missed wide.
And it made sense, too, because he's had 4 of them this year, right? It's something he's proven that he can do. And given the numbers game that we're starting to get into now, you have an opportunity for a 7-point lead. It's a risk you have to take. You know you're going to need to stop defensively at some point. They need to get in the end zone. And with the ball at the 20-yard line, the Nighthawks defense now has to step up one final time. Rattlers do still have everything available because of those 2 timeouts, though, so they can be a bit comfortable on this drive, but it's up to the Nighthawks to make them uncomfortable.
A script writer's dream here. Dalton Sneed, the former UNLV and Nighthawk quarterback, against his old team, trying to lead his new team to victory in the final minute. And we get flags flying before the snap. Sneed got popped by Claude Davis, and now there's some pushing and shoving after the play. I don't know if Davis ever heard the snap or the whistle.
5-yard penalty. It's first down.
But it is a false start, and that backs up Arizona.
Direct product of the noise here at Lee's Family Forum. Adding a tick back onto the clock here. Head coach Mike Davis jumping before that play to get his crowd up and running, but you see the false start. And Claude Davis just trying to play through the whistle, but he couldn't hear it. So he ends up with the tackle on Dalton Sneed, who wasn't all too happy with it. And a 1st and 15 now for Arizona.
2 timeouts left, 48 seconds to go. Playoff football at its best. Sneed hit from behind and goes down. Maurice Jackson does it again. Timeout, Arizona.
Something about this matchup for Maurice Jackson. He loves wreaking havoc on this Arizona Rattlers offense. Did it in the first game, wasn't able to play in game 2 against these guys, but for Maurice Jackson, when called upon, at the time you need him most, coming around the edge here, working on Mady, gets around it, and Dalton Sneed rather lucky he wasn't winding back to throw that ball, because Jackson would have had a great opportunity to knock it free, but he does pick up the sack, and a false start and a sack on the first 2 plays. Rattlers have moved back 10 yards before they've even had a chance to get anything going here on this drive.
It's the healthiest Maurice Jackson has looked since opening day. When he got hurt late in the second quarter in Glendale, already had 2.5 sacks, 3.5 tackle for loss in his team debut. Has had a monster game tonight. And now Arizona has to go 40 yards in 44 seconds, down to 1 timeout. Fans back to their feet. 44 seconds left. Sneed dumps short. Brooks hit hard from behind by Davis. And the clock runs until Kevin Guy decides now is the time. We'll burn our final timeout.
Arizona, their 3rd and final. 30 seconds in length.
That's exactly what you want if you're the Nighthawks. You take away any of the deep threats, you force a check down, and you make the tackle right away in the middle of the field to make sure that the clock continues to run, and you force Arizona to use a timeout. So for all intents and purposes, exactly what the Nighthawks wanted, and it's still a 3rd and long, 3rd and 14 coming up. Still trying to get back to that original line of scrimmage, and 39 seconds to go. They've already burned 2 of their timeouts, have the Rattlers. They need something with their backs against the wall here.
It only makes sense between these 2 teams. 2 games decided by a combined 7 points. Arizona, 5 of their final 6 games decided by a single possession. Odds makers knew what they were doing. 4.5-point favorites for the Nighthawks tonight. 5-point game in what has at times featured great defensive play, great special teams. We've had a little bit of everything, and it all comes down to these next couple of plays. Arizona with 39 seconds left, with Vegas up by 5, 38-33. A stop means Vegas wins their first playoff game in franchise history. Mike Davis making sure his defense is set. Dalton Sneed is ready. And more early movement as Claude Davis came through the line. Nighthawks thought one of the offensive linemen flinched before that.
Here we go. Offside. Defense, number 9, was unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
And it is Davis, the veteran, who until a couple weeks ago was mired on a poor Sioux Falls team. That's where Davis won a couple of titles, was a 3-time All-IFL player. Davis, with that late season ad, joined Quentin Randolph as the only 2 former IFL champs on this roster. He's called, though, for the offside, and it's now 3rd and 9. Sneed with time. It's caught. What a grab by Corey Reed. Just enough for the 1st down, despite everybody but one dropping back into coverage for Vegas.
Lorenzo Hernandez dropping back there. Just couldn't get into that zone fast enough. Nice throw by Dalton Sneed under pressure.
They have to make sure the chain gang is all set. Clock has not yet started. Now it will. Sneed knocked down at the line. There's Claude Davis, who brings so much energy and enthusiasm to this team. In his third game with the Nighthawks, that two-time former champ back when Sioux Falls was in their dynasty era about a decade ago.
A veteran presence that was well needed on this young defense. The instant interior pressure, gets that big paw up and knocks it down right away. It's been a theme throughout the night, and something the Nighthawks have certainly tried to do is get into those passing lanes, prevent Dalton Sneed from getting the ball down the field. Claude Davis with the veteran move there at a key time for the Nighthawks, forcing an incompletion.
27 seconds to go in a 5-point game. What an atmosphere inside Lee's Family Forum. Sneed fires complete. It's Miles. Has just enough for the first down. Makes the catch right at the sticks. That briefly stops the clock again, and it's 1st and goal at the 9. As soon as the chains are set, they will run the clock. Now it starts with 22 seconds left. Sneed. Back of the end zone, too tall. Flowers with pretty good coverage on Miles, and that stops the clock. 18 seconds to go on 2nd and goal. Man, how good is this?
This is exactly what you dream of. If you're a football fan, an IFL fan, this is as good as it gets right here. One final shot for Arizona to get into the end zone. Nighthawks looking for a defensive stand of their own. Two teams well deserving of being in this spot. They've played each other so tight all year long. We've mentioned the 7-point difference between them in the first two Nighthawks wins this year. We expected a tight game, and I think it's gone just about as we expected. Down to the last few plays here, just 18 seconds to go. And one team looking to move on, live to fight another week.
Last year's IFL Championship game MVP, Dalton Sneed, in another massive spot. 2nd and goal at the 9. Blitz comes. Sneed dumps it down. Brooks to the 5. He's at the 1. 11 seconds to go. No timeouts for Arizona. Clock continues to run. Down to 6. Arizona gets everybody set, and they just get the snap off with 2 seconds to go. Wow. 4th and goal coming up from the 1.5-yard line.
A tackle to save a touchdown. Shannon Brooks had his eyes on the end zone. You could tell it was a screen given the way that the defensive linemen were ushered right into the quarterback. Sneed got it away in time. Brooks looking to get it in, and a saving tackle by James Caesar when you need it most. And now it's your best. What do you got? You work all season for this point. Kevin Guy, you need your best play here. And for the Nighthawks, you need your best effort here on the defensive side of things. One play for the entire season.
Mike Davis signaling timeout, and he will get the timeout right before the snap.
Vegas.
And the drama continues to build. 38-33 Vegas. Unless there's a penalty, this is the game.
This is the game indeed. And again, for Mike Davis, you have that timeout in your pocket. You might as well use it. See how Arizona lines up. See if you can surmise anything from that. But now it's just going to be about execution all the way down here to the 2-yard line. Remember how this drive started for Arizona, going backwards with the false start, getting the sack, Maurice Jackson with the big play. They've just found ways to continue to drive down the field, and they've put themselves in just about as good of a position as you can here. It's not often you get one play with 2 different teams' seasons on the line, and you have it here in the playoffs at Lee's Family Forum. Nighthawks looking for one final stop.
Both teams out of timeouts. This is it. One team's season will end after this play. Fourth and goal at the 2 for Arizona, down by 5. Sneed rolls out. Sneed dives. Touchdown! Rattlers win at the Horn.
That is the end of the game.
The same play that the Rattlers used on a key fourth down to get them in the end zone earlier in the fourth quarter is the one that wins them the game and saves their season. At the last time of asking, Dalton Sneed, they put the ball in his hands, they send him to the left side of the formation, and they let him get to the edge and dive into the end zone as the Nighthawks stunned here after having a 15-point lead in the second half. It's the Rattlers who come back and roar back to win this game on the road.
In a game of inches, Dalton Sneed had just enough. And the defending IFL championship game MVP is able to gut his team to the Western Conference Final. And as heartbreaking as it can be for your season to end, Vegas loses by 1 as we get another look.
Dalton Sneed to the edge. Mady with the key block there. And all Sneed has to do is dive in, see some of the bodies in the mix. Gabe McCoy, James Caesar looking to get in there. And it was Bryce Hampton, that last defender, who was looking to take down Dalton Sneed. He just couldn't get to the edge. And for a young Nighthawks team against an experienced Rattlers team, perhaps a moment of learning before they can find future success.
And you see what it means to Sneed, whose football career has been intertwined with Las Vegas. A year at UNLV, partial season here for the Nighthawks. And he and Jerome Johnson duked it out to the highest degree tonight. Arizona 39, Vegas 38. What a game to kick off the Western Conference semifinals. We'll have a lot more to break down on the other side as Arizona is moving on to the Western Conference Final. We'll be back to recap it all right after this.